good morning, and welcome to Duality. I'm your host, Ash, and I'm here with Sam, our mystery guest for today.
Hello, hello. It's Sam, aka Synced Up. What's up?
Good morning, and thank you for coming on to the show today. Our last minute, 2 o'clock in the morning kind of situation on how we figured this out,
Facts. And
but
you've
we're
been
here.
wanting me to do this for over a year, so it's
And
been a
here
long
we
time
are.
coming.
Here we are. Today, very retrograde day. We all kind of got into the studio a little late, and it's all good. We're here. You know what I'm saying? I'm still braiding my hair while we're on camera. It's all good. We're human beings. We had to wake up. We were up late.
Facts.
Our eyes might be a little puffy, but we
Facts.
made it.
We here. Gotta get into it.
So today, I realized I haven't talked about the tea that we're sipping in a long time. I used to tell and explain what blend I would make for like every episode. So today I didn't make this blend, but I had gotten this blend from Jamaica, and shout out to the people of Jamaica, a beautiful, beautiful country. I had a great time out there. I'm looking forward to going back as soon as possible. But we got some Jamaican ginger and some honey, some local honey, some foreign ginger, and some local honey. So that's what we're sipping on today. So cheers. Thank you so much for
Thank
making
you
it,
for
for
having
coming
me.
on to the show.
I made it.
Shout out to my sister for bringing me this Mad Hatter cup from Disney. That was great. It's so cute.
She hot.
He's very hot. I was like, all right, how do I control my face from having a reaction?
I can't control my face.
No, it never works. But yeah, so, we were talking about a lot of different topics last night, and we were here at Hub 17. We were here for the full moon community meet, and it was a really great gathering and circle, and shout out to everybody who came out last night. And yeah, it was really healing. It was really cool. Like every time I feel like we do one of these community meets, we meet up, we're there, we're so present, and then by the time we're about to leave, we're like, wow, it's really late. But then we end up even staying
Like, we don't
together
want it to
even
end
longer.
either, yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. So I just want to,
Facts. Even afterwards, we not done.
yeah,
Get in the car.
we were like,
sis.
we're done, like falling asleep, like, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, literally making
know?
the flyer in my car. Like,
Literally, I'll pull the laptop. I'm like, if we're gonna sit out here, I'm gonna make this flyer real quick. We're gonna make it like super productive. So it's cool, but what are some themes that have been coming up for you? What are some things that have been coming up for you, especially now in this past maybe like week or so? We're in this retrograde. There's a bunch of stuff coming up. We have this eclipse that just happened. It's been shining light on a lot of different things that we need to transform, right? Because we're in that Scorpio eclipse, and I know for me, it definitely like slapped me back into reality. I was upstate all weekend, and then I came back down, and it's like as soon as I walked in, I didn't even get to kick my shoes off, and it was just like boop, like you're back in reality. Here are all of the things to kind of assess. So I wanted to ask you, sis, like, what's going on?
well, we had spoke about me seeing dead baby birds. I saw 4 of them. And I feel like that's a sign for my transformation to stop being stagnant and putting things off. Like, I'm in tune with myself, but I like to act like I don't know nothing. I like to act dumb. Like, I like to repeat the same bad habits, but I know that they have to be broken. So that's just been a push and just a lot of deja vu. Work's been feeling very repetitive. And it's because I need to make some sort of change. I don't know what that is yet, but I need to open up to being comfortable with the uncomfortability. That's a big thing for me, and speaking up. So I'm working on that.
And the fact that you came out here and that you're doing the podcast,
Yo.
getting comfortable, being uncomfortable,
she
speaking up.
You called me this morning. I'm like, I'm sorry. And you're like, why are you apologizing? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to come. And you're like, you coming, you're awake. Like, what else are you doing today?
It was like, cause she started apologizing to me before she told me the reason. So I was like, why are you apologizing? She's like, oh, because, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And I'm like, sis, you awake, right?
Right. My little flake ass.
You're good. You can make it. You got it. And it's okay. A lot of people don't realize. I feel like a lot of people are flaky more than they'd like to.
It's my shyness. It's not like, a purposeful
It's not disrespectful,
thing. Yeah,
but that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people are flaky more than they like to admit it. And most people like villainize the flakiness, like, oh, you're disrespecting this, my time, this, that, and that's not usually the case. Is usually like anxiety, right? And I feel like that with a lot of people. Like, there's some people that are flaky because they're inconsiderate, yeah, of course, but like majority of my experience with either being flaky or dealing with flaky people is because like there's some kind of anxiety that's happening, and there's times to encourage people, and then there's other times to like kind of respect that space, and not everybody feels comfortable with speaking on what they're feeling, so if you create that space, like, hey, like, how are you feeling, like, it's okay if you don't want to come or you don't want to do it, like, just what is it that's pulling up, and like kind of creating that safe space too for our flaky friends. It's important.
I was trying to run from it for mad long, for over a year, and even I was about to go into work just to avoid it. Like, they called me in right before she called me, and I'm like, maybe I should go in, like, and be like, yo, sis, I had to go into work, like. But then you called me, and I'm like, nah, show up. You have to speak your truth.
Yeah.
You have to exercise your throat. You don't speak enough. I have to get some things off my chest for me. So I showed up for me.
Exactly. And I'm so happy to see it. And, like, things that we were talking about yesterday, and I'm not going to get into all that because that's, like, circle talk, right? So there's just been so much growth in it's been an honor to witness your growth, you know what I mean? And also, like, just in life, when we see ourselves in other people, or even if we don't see ourselves in other people, we simply just resonate with something, even if it's not something we personally experience back and forth. Like, there is people that comes into our life for a reason, right? And like, off the rip from meeting you, once we started really talking and having conversation, it was like, I was like, yo, like, I really resonate with this woman, like, and it's really cool. You came out from Texas, you know what I mean? You pulled up.
I'm from here. Yeah, don't play with me. I'm from Texas. But yeah, I was out there, and I came back here, and
mid-pandemic
in the U-Haul, everything shut down. All the way from Texas, it took us 3 days. The streets were empty. It was so surreal. Crazy. And I came back to my city, and it's so quiet. I'm like, what's going on? The energy was crazy. And then we started working at the Bucks, and, you helped me get out my shell from day one. You came up to me like, what's up, da-da-da. And I was like, you helped me get out my shell. So I appreciate you for that. And we just been friends ever since. Fact. I have few friends. I swear, like, I got, like, 3 friends. Like, we're into everything. So, like, if I have you around me, like, you really mean a lot to me. Like, you've helped me improve, with past stuff that I went through at, Starbucks, moving out, that whole, leaving that abusive relationship. Like, you helped me. I really don't think I would have been able to do it without you, so.
Oh, I appreciate you, sis. I'm just sitting here just, holding the space and reminding you of what you already know. Because you got it. Like, you got it. Especially, like, and I know that might be cliche, and, like, a lot of people say that stuff, but it's, like, it's really what we do. And it's also, like, you're so self-aware. Like, specifically you, like, are so self-aware and, like, have thought all of these things out. And sometimes just really need to, like, say it out loud. Word. To just, like, be like, all right, well, now I have to hold myself accountable because I said it out loud. There's a witness to this. All right, let me do this, and follow through with that. And sometimes that's just what we need. It's just to have a witness, to have accountability. And, like, that's what, this podcast is for as well. It's kind of the hub and safe space for a lot of different things. And one of it being to empower yourself by hearing your own voice. So, like, not only coming onto this podcast and, like, talking to me, talking to others, right? You're talking to your future self. You're going to listen to this podcast at some point.
That's why I knew I had to come, because I was like, yo, you need some sort of proof. Like, I don't even take pictures of myself. Nothing. I was like, you need this proof. Like, this, you're going to have this forever. Like, I want to show my kids this. Like, look. Yeah. I showed up.
Exactly.
I did it. I'm mad shine. I did it.
And it's a time capsule, right? So whatever you're saying, just naturally and organically, is going to help you at other times of your life. And that's why I think it's so important, whether you have a podcast or whether you have a phone, like a video chat or whatever it is, you know, like record yourself in that way, you know, or journal. You know, it's a little different to hear yourself, you know, but you can hear your voice in your head when you read your journal and stuff, which is cool. But it's like, I can't tell you how many times that I've felt lost or stuck or something, and I just like opened up my podcast and just flipped and clicked, and then it was exactly what I need to hear, whether it was coming from me or somebody that I had on. So it's That's like beautiful. It's an incredible thing, you know, and I'm so grateful for every step of the way, every person, every place, everything that has gotten this podcast to exist. And I'm just looking forward to keep on pushing it on, you know. It's like I wasn't being super consistent for a little while, and like in that lack of consistency, I felt like I was missing something, because the most consistent thing in my life has been this podcast. Every Wednesday, I'm going. Like, you know, I've come in and out of jobs. Baby. Like, you've been at it for 54 episodes, you know, and it's like when I wasn't doing it on Wednesday. And some Wednesdays, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Like, even this Wednesday, like, I was like, why do I not know at all what I feel like I'm supposed to do? Besides Mercury retrograde, all these other things that are going on. And now I truly feel like it was because it was supposed to be empty. And then like last night when we were linking and talking, it was just like, boom, this is what we're supposed to do. But y'all know me, I could pull up and like have a conversation with the wall or with you guys. I'll figure something out. But it felt almost like there was someone going to be on. It's interesting how the motions happen. Like, just like we kind of have an inclination or a feeling in our life with certain things. It's like the same thing in the microcosm with this podcast. Like, I have a feeling, feels like something's gonna be different this week, or like, you know, whatever the case is. So it's really cool, and like we've been having a lot of interactions with people listening, and on Wednesdays is what I've been kind of centering, you know, for the past 2 weeks, is like, how can we center the people who are listening, and like, you know, I've been putting out questions and things like that. So I was gonna do that, and then it just felt like it wasn't the week for that, and I don't know why, but I'm not gonna question it. But you know, anybody who's listening or tuned in now, you're more than welcome to put a question in or a comment or whatever it is, and thank you for tuning in live or whenever it is that you're tuning in, and sharing this moment with us, sharing some tea. Hopefully you're having some tea or some coffee this morning, you know, and just getting in tune with the community. And like, the community is like, it's such a statement, it's a general statement, but it's like, it could be locally, you know, on wherever you're living, or it could be your community, could be like just what you resonate with, you know, and that could be on the other side of the world. But if you resonate with it, then that's still your community, you know, if you choose to like work with it and speak into it, like feed it, right? So yeah, just wanted to share that.
Word. You've given me a community, because I never had that before. So you've given me that for sure.
Well, you're a part of it, you know. You created it too, because you know, if it's just me, then it's just me, and then there's no one else, you know. Then you got a friend, not a community, you know. So y'all do that too. Thanks. Like, if it's y'all are just as important in this community, because like if it was just me, it would just be me. That would be, you know, each and every one of you choosing to participate in something, and me choosing to participate. So all of us, you know, is creating that community. So it's like, you know, we're all doing it together.
Sure. We're all speaking our truth in different ways, and it's the support that I really love. You know,
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And it's like, you're not always going to agree with your community, you know, and your community doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're separate from other people. It just happens to be the pocket in which you feel comfortable. And, but it's still connected with everybody else. So it's no greater or less than anyone else, you know. And I feel like different things, because now that I'm using the word community and my brain's kind of attaching to different ways in which we use community and things like that, it's like reminding me, like, sometimes it's also important to not get super caught up, like how certain communities get caught up and isolate, right? I think it's important to integrate our communities, because what else is our community? The human race is our community at the end of the day. Like, there's the little niche communities that goes bigger, right? But we're all still connected, and even if we don't resonate with everybody on everything. Like, we still have to resonate about brushing our teeth and, you know, drinking water and eating food, and like no matter what spectrum of human, because that's what we all are going to have, something that's going to tie us together.
Word.
Just as different as we are, we're like so much more similar as a human species than we'd like to admit.
That's what I said last night. I was like, you know, we're all different, but we have things that we could resonate with. Every single person that says something, I could resonate with in some way. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. It's so cool when that happens. Like, you think, like, you go to a circle and you're like, yeah, I know what I'm going to talk about. And then the person right before you talks about it, and then you're like, what do I talk about? That's so amazing that
that's when you just let it flow, though.
Mm-hmm. You know? Exactly. And exactly that. And you just allow yourself to be present and not premeditate things, and not
I feel
go
like that's
ahead
the best way to not premeditate things. That's how this happened today, because I can't premeditate anything. It's hard for me to do that.
Because when we premeditate, then the perfectionism starts kicking
and
in.
I start overthinking.
Mm-hmm. And then it never happens. Like, you know, that's even like with this podcast, is like the reason it exists is because it's live. If it wasn't live, y'all would never get episodes. I would be sitting over here like, nah, I said 4 times. You hear me gulp the tea in here. Things, like, nah, I did this weird arm thing. Now I'm moving nonstop. Like, I can't sit there and nitpick, because I already do that all day long. I'm actually working on unlearning that. Like, so just
we all
accepting ourselves, you know, right?
Not beating yourself up, like, you know, giving yourself credit.
Giving yourself the space to just exist organically, right? And that's what the space is all about. Is like, all right, pull up, let's just have a conversation. Right. Hi, we're right here. There's microphones and there's cameras. Yeah, they exist too, but like, we're here. Right. And this is the conversation. And it's like, you know, just interesting how it flows, and like things that kind of change and move and maneuver, like whether in what space we're in. Like, I know for myself, depending on what conversation I'm having, who I'm having it with, where I am, what's going on, depends on like my tone of voice. My tone of voice changes like in episode, probably like moment to moment, nonetheless in life, just
I feel that
moment to moment.
Word.
You know, like certain excitement, certain levels of certain things, like just change the way my energy about something, and the way that the words kind of fill and flow out. So it's like, it's cool because as people, it's so, I guess, irrational to think that we will stay the same. And that's kind of like...
Yeah, right. And people tell me, you have mad accents, like you sound mad different every single time. And it's like, because I've absorbed everything in my life. It's all the things I've been around, been through, and it's just naturally comes out when it comes out. Like,
yeah,
I'm not focusing on, you know, how I sound, how I'm
trying to do
like my mannerisms, what I'm doing. Like, you can't be the same. Like,
we're adaptable being. Like, and some people call it code switching or all these different things, and some have like either a negative connotation, or some people just generally say it out of just like you know, oh, you had to, you know, you walked into for a job interview, whatever it is, you know, and it is what it is. But at the same token, it's just like, we're adaptable human beings. If you put us in water for a certain amount of time, our fingers start to get wrinkles, because our body's adapting to the water to gain grip on something underwater. And that's why we wrinkle. So it's like, our natural bodies are going to always adapt to things. So it's like, why wouldn't our voice? Why wouldn't our energy to certain things, you know? You walk into a room and everyone's super excited. At some point, if you allow yourself to surrender to the energy of the room, you're going to be super excited too. Or you're going to be fighting it the whole time. You're just going to be angry, so you'll leave. So, but it's either way, that energy is going to exist within that space. So it's like, are we surrendering to the conversations? Are we surrendering to the flows of things that we're at? Or are we just staying firm in this one version of ourselves to like almost conceal, maybe protect, whatever that looks like? And, you know, some people are just a lot more sensitive than others too. So it's not like anyone's being inauthentic or fake to something. Like, some people just literally have a monotone way of being majority of the time, and really only get up or down when they're unsettled. And that's completely fine too. I think it's just, rather than like looking and criticizing, it's cool to just be curious. Like,
yeah, what did Jim Carrey say? Like, we all have different masks for different situations, different things, you know? And what he say, like when you feeling depressed, that's your body telling you it's time for a new character.
New avatar.
I always
yeah.
feel that way. Like, why you want to be the same? Like, I've lived mad lives already. I'm only 23. Like, I've changed so drastically. Like, people will meet me and be like, they won't even remember me, or like they'll be like, you've changed so much. Like I don't know. Change is good. It's uncomfortable, but then it's comfortable. And I have mad different. I don't know where I'm getting at, but you know.
No, I mean you're getting exactly where you're supposed to go, and I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's definitely really cool to allow yourself to, like, why would you want to stay the same? Like, why would you want to stay? There's certain traits, of course, like there's certain moral like traits and like ways of being that are always going to be solid, you know, or that should always be solid that we keep.
I feel like
right?
your core, you know, don't let that shake, but. You know, the outside things and other things that aren't as serious as your core and your core beliefs. But even your core beliefs can change. You never know. You're always constantly learning, and you're everything you're learning, you're putting into your life, and you're using it to better yourself. I feel, and make those changes that's needed.
It's very true. Like there's so many things. Like, you know, I used to be so conscious of when I would be told like I was a hypocrite. I would be like, oh my God, like, am I a hypocrite? Like, does that make me worse of a person? Like, do I not stand for something, or do I stand for something that I didn't stand for? And like the reality is like, yeah, I am. I have been, and I am a hypocrite at times in my life because I'm growing through something. I'm like moving forward through something. So like sometimes my views do change, and it's not the sense of like, oh, I say one thing and I do the a different thing right away. It's like, no, like I might have thought that at a point, but like here's why I adapted my thinking, and I'm thinking about it in a different way because now rather than judging something, I'm getting more curious.
Yeah,
and
different
I'm like,
perspectives too, you know?
Yeah, you go through different things. Like cycles around the sun is a thing that you really start to realize a bunch of stuff for. Like it's doing the work in conjunction with aging and growing just amplifies how much you learn and witness and experience. You know, no matter what, you're gonna have experience when we grow, when we live, right? But when we're also doing the conscious awareness work to like really center like what is, like, to process what is coming, what are we actually experiencing rather than just solely experiencing it and just kind of barreling through life, we have like, it's like we're living so many lives because we're just taking in so much information and applying it. And I feel like that's why you meet people sometimes that are like 80 years old and like still working out and leading classes and like still doing their thing because they've been like they've been like really applying this stuff. And then like, you know, some people that get older and are suffering is like, you know, they might have not felt safe enough to bring change and adapt to certain things. So
or the fear of death, like that's all they could think about instead of being in the present,
the impending doom. And then now that's just like what's wearing on their face this whole time is like that impending doom. So it's important to like, you know, just be in the present moment. That's like always the answer to everything. I feel like it's like no matter what question you have, like just being present usually is the answer. I mean, besides when you're feeling like super triggered, I guess like being present but also like self-soothing would be more so the answer. But like, yeah, just riding whatever that presence is and just being within it, and that dance of like not feeling it too much but not feeling it enough at all, you know, not neglecting it.
that flow, like just letting it flow.
Yeah.
Facts. I was just thinking about that Sunday. I was like, a Sunday like night, I was like, you know, I have to be in the present more. I'm over here thinking about all my goals and what I have to do, and I'm not doing enough, instead of being in the present and realizing, look at everything I've done. Look at me in this present time. I have a roof over my head, you know, I have a vehicle, like I have a job, like look at everything you have in this present moment, like be thankful. Also being more thankful has really been a thing for me, like thanking the universe, spirit, like whoever, like having more gratitude and not being so hard on myself and so self-critical and like you're not doing enough. Like, no, you are doing enough. Look at how far you've come. Look at, like, you know? That's been really big for me too, recently, for sure.
That's great that you're taking that time to acknowledge, you know, to be like, all right, pause. Like, I know I have these goals that I want to crush, but like, let's just take a moment to appreciate the things that I already did.
Sometimes it's good to take a break from your goals too. Like, I'm always trying to set new ones. Once I reach one, it's like, maybe I need to take this breath to just be happy with what I have.
It's okay to
And be in that
celebrate.
moment,
Yeah,
yeah.
to celebrate these wins, right, for yourself and take that time. It's like goals aren't going anywhere. You're gonna think about a whole bunch. If you need to think about things to do, that's one of the easiest things to think about. It's like, what do I need to do? Boom, brain opens up all of these different things, you know. So it's like,
that's also how I like run away from my feelings too, though, because I'm like, I don't want to face how I'm actually feeling. I'm gonna just make more goals. I'm gonna keep myself busy. I'm gonna keep myself occupied, so I don't have to actually face that.
That's big, and that's a lot of self-awareness right there. Sorry, pause. I just drank my own hair. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead.
Casually takes hair out.
Puts hair in pocket.
I'm gonna save you for later.
It was brown and blonde, and I was just like, oh wow. But yeah, you know, like, sorry, to go back into the conversation, like I think that's something that a lot of people do and don't realize that they're doing.
Right.
I think a lot of people do that, don't realize that they're doing that.
It's surprising how like non-self-aware some people are, like, you know, or they're not able to look into themselves and see what they're doing, and you know, they want to project it onto other people, which I'm dealing with a certain someone right now, you know, and it's like, I own up to my mistakes always, but it's like, if you're not willing to see that you also made a mistake, you know, it takes two to tango, you know, we both reacting off each other. If you're not gonna speak your truth as well, that's one-sided. I can't really respect that, because I'm over here working, I'm over here communicating, I'm over here telling you, yeah, I could have done that differently, but you also could have done that differently. Oh, nah, like, no.
So what do you do in situations like that?
You know, you could try to say, I don't know, because it's like, I'm at this point where it's like, I can't keep going in circles with you. If you're not gonna realize, I'm gonna have to cut you free, and hope that one day you will, because people can only change themselves. You could plant them seeds, but if they're not willing to water them, you just handing out too many seeds. Sometimes you gotta keep them seeds to yourself. Word. Yeah. It's hard though, because I'm lonely. You just want to feel that connection, like you just want to feel that love, and I've already opened up to you, and it's like, once I open up to you, I don't want to let you go, because you already know me, and I'm mad, quiet, and shy. So once I let you know that side of me, it's like, it's hard to let go. But I have to look at the lessons that you've taught me, the lesson that I've been putting off. I have to learn that lesson.
Accepting people just as they are, not what we expect them to be.
Word.
Or the potential we
like
see in them.
They screaming at you. They're showing you time and time again, and I'm like, nah, you're killing the vibe.
You're like, actually, yeah, you're killing the vibe of what I view you as in my mind. Word. And meanwhile, they're literally just like, this is who I am, like popping the bubble over and over again. Word. And like, we have that fight within ourselves. But people show us who we are. All we got to do is sit back and watch. If you want to know anything about anybody or any situation, all you got to do is sit back and watch and observe them.
Word.
You know, and everything will show.
Yeah, especially how they act around other people and then how they act around you. You know?
All environments, and then body language. Communication is like 70% body language. You just watch, and then you see like, okay, well, do I accept this? Am I okay with this? You know, sometimes it's like, you know, in certain cases it's worth like holding on and like kind of seeing what something's coming of that, if there's any kind of strides of growth and like there's self-awareness, accountability taken. But if none of that exists, then there's just excuses to why we're holding on to things. You know, if there is no accountability, if there is that turbulent, like, you know, toxic behavior that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, and then it's like, all right, I'm gonna do the same thing a half hour later,
or it's like y'all going through the same thing, and it's like, I know what I've done. You not, like, you know what I mean? It can't all be put on me. You have to realize sometimes maybe it's something you're doing. That's why we're going in these cycles. I've noticed that, like, the deja vu's been crazy. Conversations, I'm like, didn't we just have this conversation? Didn't we just have this petty little fight? Why are you putting so much energy into this? Like, move on, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, if we cool like that, if you ride for me like that, you shouldn't let little things, or it's like, the overthinking. The thinking, oh, well, you didn't call me, and you must have been doing this, that, and the third. Like, that's your insecurities, baby. Because I'm telling you the truth. You're going to take it, or you're not going to take it.
Yeah, and if you don't
That's on
respect my
you.
word, then it's like, why are
Right.
we even doing this? Why are we
Right.
participating in this kind of situation?
Right.
You know
like,
what I mean?
know the type of person I am. I know I'm loyal. I know I'm truthful.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to believe me, that's on you.
No, and then that's the person once again showing you their colors, which is like, hey, I don't trust you because I don't trust myself, or for whatever reason, right? And then how could you trust them if they don't trust themselves?
Facts.
You know, so then it's just you show the compassion, that love, you understand, or you continue to ride on that lesson over and over and over again, and it's like, you know, it's a ride that we're all pretty familiar with. You know, I think we all go through that version in different ways, at different points of our lives that we have with different people where we're like, nah, it'll be different this time.
Yeah.
It'll be different.
It's like you like it, though. It's like you so comfortable with it that you just so used to it that you think this is how it's supposed to be.
You even miss it sometimes.
Yeah, like
you
you
even miss
crave
it
it.
when you're done with
Yup,
it.
yup.
You're like, wow, like my entire central nervous system is ripping through
That fight or
my
flight.
entire being. Like, does this mean I'm in the right space in my life? Like, trauma does the darndest things, you know, and it'll make us attached to things that are so far from what is good for us, and push away things that aren't. And I think that's why it's so important to have communication and conversations, and like,
Facts.
and when the communication and conversations aren't had, like, that's communication and conversations. Like, that is with yourself. If you're not having it with, whether it's your significant other, a family member, a coworker, you know, whoever it is, right? Like, if you're trying to communicate and the person isn't willing to, or can't make the space for it, like, at any point, that's communication. That's communication that either they're not in the space to do it, they don't value it enough. Because then you have the same conversation with that person. You want to fight? They're all about talking.
Yep.
All about talking. All of a sudden, they'll talk
Or they
about
want to
everything.
talk down at you, and they want to be like, listen, you did this, that. And then when you come back at them, they're like, oh, no. They don't believe it.
There's a lot of medicine to be had with this conversation right here, you know.
Yo, I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, calm down. Like,
well, it's like, you know, it's just, I feel like when these things happen, when these cycles, you know, when you really yearn for someone, when it's like that, like, I need this person yearn, a lot of times it's like, really, we're misreading our inner child or our little self asking for help. And it has nothing to do with them.
yeah.
It has to do with, like, our inner child that's like, I'm lonely. People left me alone
Like,
when
I'm
I was
getting
younger.
attached, but it's like, I need to be, like...
abandonment
talk,
stuff. Yeah. And then it's like, and it's like, what about going in and talking to her rather than, like, cut out the middleman? Like, this other person is just a vehicle for us to feel, or that part of her. A vehicle for our distraction, or a vehicle for that part of ourselves to just, like, get what it needs, or seemingly get what it needs because of recreating what it's seen. You know, it's all about just, like, human survival. It's, like, really simple, but we make it so much more complicated, and then we judge it and we critique it, and then that's what makes it hard for us to leave things, is because we're like, nah, but I seen it like this, so, like, it can't be like this because I seen it like this and I want it to be like this. And it's like, but what is it?
Right, in this present moment. Like,
what
look
is it
at what it actually is.
Yeah. And it's like just accepting the truth, and it's a hard thing. Listen, a lot easier said than done.
It's hard.
But it'll save you in the long run from just continuously going on this merry-go-round.
Same cycle. You're going to keep meeting the same type of people, and it's going to be the same type of thing.
You're going to get emotion sickness. Like, you're going to get emotion sickness, and you're going to literally continue to stay sick in that space. like, oh, I don't feel good. I feel drained. I feel this. I feel that. Of course you do, because you're just continuing to go round and round on the merry-go-round of the cycles and traumas, and then especially when you have the conscious awareness, you're judging yourself 10 times harder than not having the conscious awareness of it. Like, that's why you see people like, I think like shame and guilt, right, is like one of those things that are really, really, really peculiar, how they work, absorb, and navigate in our bodies. Like, with people who, people could smoke their whole life and not have shame about it, and like still be relatively healthy regardless of like science.
It's
right?
about how you think too. If you think this is gonna get me sick, it's eventually gonna get you sick.
It's crazy how strong the mind is.
Yeah.
Like,
yup. Especially with this COVID situation. I'm sorry to get into that, but come on now, y'all. Y'all getting the vaccine, y'all still getting it.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah, like it's the mind, the
It's
scared.
a lot of things. Well, there's so many different things that are said, especially with that. Where it's like, all of these things happen, and then there's like the knight in shiny armor that comes in that's supposed to like fix a problem super fast. But at the end of the day, like, you see something like, for example, like, look at whiteout, right? You have a paper, you make a mistake, and then you white it out. And then when you white it out, it doesn't stop the lettering from being under.
There.
If you take a pencil, you could still shade it over and see what it was written there. It's still going to exist.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's comfort.
Yeah.
I'm hiding this mistake or whatever the case is. And, that could be applied to whatever, you take that. If it resonates, and if it doesn't resonate, then you leave it. You know what I mean? But there's so many things that can apply to. And, like, in this world that we live in with, the people that are controlling everything, like, shit's sus, I hope every mother finds a way and a means to find formula if they are choosing to go that route, and that there's a lot of just coincidences. And if you pay attention, and if you pay attention long enough, you'll see the connection of who's buying the farmland, who's sponsoring the major rollout of solutions in the reality. And then also like what is being said and altered. And it's like, I think it's really important to look at why people talk about what they do. Like, how are they benefiting from it? You'll see now, especially now that, a bunch of people are like vegan, vegetarian, like, you'll see the industry, like, so many meat industries bought tofu, like, bought soy farms, bought plant-based companies, if you look at the
making the plant-based
dairy industry, dairy industry and the meat industry, it's a very ugly place. And so is the medical field. And like, if you just look long enough and you just pay attention, even if you don't dig, right? But if you just look long enough and you pay attention,
it's right there. They're really not hiding it.
It's
it's really
very
not
apparent.
Secretive.
It's very apparent. And also always look like, what do they have to benefit? What is one person on YouTube who's like sitting there and tying X, Y, and Z? What do they have to do to benefit from putting all of this like conspiracy theories together? What views on their YouTube? Right. Like, some people don't even have it.
If anything,
they're taking a risk.
Shadow banned. They're getting their stuff deleted. They're getting threatened. This, that, and the third. So, if anything, they're taking a risk.
They're taking a big risk to speak out on topics like that, because most people are too afraid to speak on anything like that. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times like I've shared something or had a conversation about something, and then a bunch of people were in my DMs like, yo, thank you for talking about this. Like, this is exactly how I feel. But I just don't want to talk. I just don't feel like I could say it, because whether my job or my views or whatever it is, my family, like, people live in fear all the time, and there's a balance to be had. Like, I've definitely been the person who's gone off the deep end and only hyper fixated on all the wrong and corruption going on in the world, and like, that wasn't good for me.
It was a dark time.
It's a dark time. Like, you gotta remember.
I was in my room in the dark, like, just like off acid, like, just like really fixated for hours.
Slides that in real quick.
Yeah.
It's really that way, because it's like, when you realize how intensely fucked the world is,
you can't live though. You're gonna be so sad.
It's so sad, but then you gotta remember how intensely alive, and how there's still potential for people to like just do the right thing, and how it all starts with you. And that's how that's how I ground myself, because I get so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, everyone's littering, global warming, fuck everything, no one cares, like the soil's messed up, we don't got no non-GMO seed in sight, like we live in the city where there's only male trees, like the pollen's crazy, I'm sneezing, everything's so going on, like there's so much happening. It's like, when we start getting overwhelmed like that, like, we gotta remember how powerful we are ourselves in doing something and creating a change. You know, think about when somebody in a room starts to clap and then the entire auditorium starts to clap. One person made the decision.
Yeah.
One person made the decision. Hey, I'm gonna celebrate this person, or, you know, whatever the case is. Or I'm gonna clap, because some people just be clapping. So like, whatever the case is, like, know how important your energy, your vibration, whatever it is that you're doing is. You know, in the last episode we talked about taking responsibility for our vibration. Yeah, take that responsibility and put it into motion. Now you can be the alchemy in the room, and you could change things. There's a room full of like, everyone's just standing around. Do something. Put some energy into that room. Now everybody's focused on that, or whatever the case is, or now we're all participating. Put that intention into something. And that's how I personally ground, because I definitely have gotten consumed by the impeding doom feeling of just like, I don't know if I could do this right now.
It's hard to get out of that too once you're in that space.
Especially because once you open up that rabbit hole and you jump in, like, it's hard to climb back out.
It don't end though. It don't end.
Yeah, so you're just like,
and you don't even want to
falling.
surround yourself with people because you like, they won't. You feel like they don't understand, or they don't want to hear it. So you feel like you're alone.
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like they don't want to hear it. I feel like a lot of people understand, but a lot of people don't want to hear it because they don't want to accept it.
They're in denial.
I used to not care, though. I used to still talk about it, like, all the time in so many spaces. Like, I used to do it bugs. Like,
sometimes it's needed, though.
Yeah, I was like, nobody's listening, but I'm listening.
And
like,
I would chime in like,
You'd be like in the background, like, with the shaker in your hand.
Facts, like, listen to her.
Yeah. Well, when we were talking about parasites and stuff, I'm like,
I break my neck. I would come out the woodwork. I would just know.
You would come out from the back room like you're on support. Like what? When you say I'm all the way on reg.
I hear everything. I'm like, yes, I hear
you. You do, and you're always there like, I co-sign this. Yep. Yeah, but like for real, like most people don't deal with it, and I think that that's something that back and forth, like extremes of like, okay, you know, something that I was thinking about the other day that someone had said to me. I'm a mutual friend with me and a few people, and he had said to me one time, he was like, yo, there's a few people talking about like how pretty and smart you are, and then they were like, yeah, you know, but she's like really spiritual, like, and she's like that all the time, like that's just a lot to deal with, like. And I giggled. I was like, yo, what? And he's like, yeah, a lot of people in the neighborhood that kind of like talk shit about you in that way, like that you're just like too much of this, and like that you carry this, and like, you know, not everybody wants to deal with that. And I was just like, you know, I didn't know back and forth to be like, am I offended? Like, or am I just like accepting of like also the people in which we were talking about, and like the group of people is just like kind of like neighborhood people that I don't really necessarily talk to majority of, and it's like we just have different choices in our lives and like what we choose to center, you know. And
or you could like, they're scared, like they don't want to face it.
Yeah,
that's why they think you're too much. It's them projecting, like it's not about you. Maybe
if you look at the lifestyles too, and it's like not coming from a critical space, more coming from just like the reality of the space. Like everyone runs away from things and in certain ways, and like I'm guilty of it. I run away from certain things in certain ways too. And then there's like, you know, you grow up and you have friends in the neighborhood or whatever, and like everybody drinks and parties, and some people don't stop doing that, you know what I mean? And like, and then you stop doing that, and then everybody starts acting funny about that. And then like that's kind of what I experienced with that. So like at first I was like, am I offended? And I'm like, I'm not even around these people anymore. Why am I even a topic of conversation? You know, and it's like, and every time I am around, and like, and something that my friend said too, like, that I appreciate, he's like, but you were the only person who, yeah, you stopped coming around, you stopped like chilling like that, but like every time you did come around, you brought so much love with you, and like you were genuinely so excited to see everybody and uplift everybody. and they just weren't having that because they weren't in that space, not open to it. Yeah, and that's okay, and like that's completely fine. Like it's just interesting because we go through these different like stages in our life where we just outgrow things. We just outgrow things emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. We just outgrow things.
Yep.
But, like, at the same token, like, I could reflect back on that time. And there was a time that I was a lot. Like, I was really a lot. And that's okay. That extreme version of myself needed to exist. But at that time, like, my hair was, like huge and, like, never done. But, like, always, like, and it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I still love that part about myself. But, like, I was, like, yo, like, very pro body hair and like, talking about periods all the time and like, which is great. Still on that time.
We need to talk about our cycles, ladies.
Still on that time, but it was like, I get how it could be a lot in like for like family dinner. You know what I mean? Like I get it.
Like there's a time and place to everything, maybe.
Yeah, like there's like, and there's also like a chill, like a balance to have, and I was missing it a lot, balance. Like a lot of times, like, like talking about 9/11, talking about a lot of different things, like at
but that just shows how passionate you are, know?
Which is like, I appreciate that, I look back, there's certain parts about it that I cringe, but I still accept myself in full because I was learning. When we learn something, we get into I don't know about everybody, but like me personally, when I learn something, I'm like, I can't wait to like talk about this thing until like, I don't want to talk about it.
You want to learn more and more about it too, and you want to share it with others, and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's like, but it's just that balance. Like even there was an episode where it was called Why Do People Cheat, right? And there was a point where we were having a conversation where I'm like, yo, I'm about to say something controversial, and I mean this in the least like offensive way to anybody and most compassionate way, and coming from a person with experience in this, like it takes two people in that situation, although like, and not just the person that's cheating, it takes three people really, like, because there are signs and cues and we choose to avoid them. And like that was the part that took a long time for me to like integrate. That took a long time because it was so easy to make my exes like villainize them, demonize them, and be like, nah, like I was doing everything right, you were doing this wrong. And it's like, well, was I? Like maybe in my own head I was, but maybe everything right for me wasn't everything right for them.
Different
and like
perspectives.
Exactly. And like just coming from that and that different perspective, like but if you would have asked me that 5 years ago, I'd been like, absolutely not. It's not. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. And because the thing is, the first thing that I experienced was like, I thought it had everything to do with me. I took on all of the blame because I was like, it has to be me. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not good enough. And that's why, I'm sorry, I don't want to burp on you. But yeah, but that's why, this person cheated on me, whatever the case is. And then after that, it became like, then you go into this empowered group of like, everyone's like, it has nothing to do with you. It's all them. And that's true. Like, it's them. It's their trauma. That's how it came out. But then I'm like, accountability. Yeah. It's somewhere in between.
Facts. It takes both. Both have to take accountability. No one's perfect in a relationship. Mm-hmm. They could have been feeling ignored or feeling not heard, and that made them go and do what they had done. Mm-hmm. Because it still doesn't justify, and that's why I want to like clarify. It still does not justify. No, it just rounds it. Yeah. But sometimes I feel like no one's gonna go out and cheat or act just for no reason. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that because everyone's different, but I feel like no one just does that.
No, I mean, it's for a reason. Usually the reason is rooted in like their own childhood way of like, or like feeling good, and like they're gonna go out and feel better. But like, it's not just because it's like, because it's so controversial, like, and that's why I brought it up on the podcast, because it's like you'll see like women hating on women, being like, well, you're not doing something right in the home. Right? And like saying something like that where it's just putting another woman down, or like human, it doesn't have to be like women, it could be men too, like it could be anybody in between. So it's like,
or it's the opposite and they want to put all the blame on them, like villainize them.
And that's why I think it's somewhere right in between.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, something was going on,
balance.
communication wasn't had, whether you tried for it or not, maybe you pressed for it, maybe you didn't know or have the means to have that communication, but it happened. And that's that. So like, I forgot how we got into this, but I guess it's like, oh yeah, just having a chill. Like, right, like just going through extremes. Like there's times that we're gonna have extremes, we're gonna meet extreme versions of ourselves. Like 2018, 2019 version of me was mad intense about like everything. And I'm still intense, but I'm grounded in my intensity. So at least like I'm not just like electric fire, like lightning bolts hitting everything. Like I'm like grounded electricity. I have like a light bulb now or some shit. You know what I mean? Like it's it's just different. And you can have those conversations and have them in different spaces, because it's like, then that's where the community gets isolated, right? That's when you're like, oh, okay, well, I am so into quote unquote spirituality and like unraveling my kundalini and finding like my twin flame and all of these different things, right? And like you have all of these like concepts which are cool and like are in different, but they're not in this realm exactly, right? They are and they aren't. And like, and you can't just have that conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
People be like, what the
Big
fuck
facts.
are you talking
Word.
about? Like, what are you
People will look
actually
at you
talking
like-
about? And it's like, you gotta know who to have the conversations with and
Facts,
not. And I feel like
facts.
I was pressing to have these conversations with everybody, and everyone was not trying to have them.
It's not gonna resonate with everyone.
So I need to have boundaries with myself. Like, you don't have to have all these conversations with everybody, you know?
Yeah. And I'm the opposite. Like, I don't want to have them conversations with anyone. I'm very selective. And sometimes I feel like I need to be more trusting of others and share more and not be scared to share. Like, you overshare, I undershare. I'm a tough cookie. Takes months to get, like, to me, really.
I feel once
the
you have the
balance.
safe space, though, you know?
Yeah, once I'm
you have
comfortable,
the safe space,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
going to flourish. I'm going to open up. It's all about that comfortability, the uncomfortable, that topic that always seems to come up with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since the jump.
And it's crazy because it's like my younger self could resonate with that, with what you with how you experience it, because I was very like selective in who I shared what with, and then like certain things were out of my control and I flipped the spectrum and it was an extreme again. Like I had something that was exposed that was like a really serious trauma that was like everywhere in newspapers and everybody knew about it, and then I was just like, I have no privacy. I shouldn't keep any of my thoughts to myself. So then I applied it in the opposite spectrum, and I've been just trying to find balance within that for the time. So it's like, it's interesting. And I feel like that happens to quite a few people that, you know, overshare, like, is like something got shared that wasn't, like, that was super, super, like, something got shared probably without their consent. And then a way that our brain started to find out how we can control it is like, well, I'm just going to overshare everything.
Like, you already said this, why stop?
Yeah,
Keep
like,
going.
I'm going to just do it. I'm going to be the one now because you wanted to overshare my business, and I got embarrassed from it, so now I'm just going to overshare because now I'm going to take control. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how we control kind of manifests in, like, these different ways that we don't view them as control. We just kind of view them as like a way of being, but like it is control. Yeah.
Everything about my life is so, I don't know if it's the Virgo, but it's very much perfectionist control.
Could definitely be the Virgo.
But then that Libra moon is trying to balance.
Yeah.
She's trying to balance.
What is your Mars?
I think it's Leo.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure it's Leo.
I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I feel like it is too, but I'm like picturing us doing the chart before Rush at the Bucks. Like, all right, pause, like real quick. All right,
Right, everyone gather around.
I'm gonna need everyone's time of birth, location,
This
and birthday.
literally what happened.
I'm like throwing croissants in the oven.
Word. Because you need to wait.
Hold on a second.
They're waiting for their order to be taken. This is serious. You have to wait a second.
Oh man, yeah, that was good times.
I know.
Intense times, but good times.
I know. Sometimes I miss it, but sometimes it's like it lived its moment, and you just have to reminisce about it.
Yeah.
And life goes on. And
Absolutely. We were all perfectly designed. That's another thing. It's just like
it was
knowing when it's
aligned.
time to go in and know when it's time to go out.
Yeah. We all said,
We're like, oh, we all gotta go. We're gonna head out. Yeah.
it was a domino effect. OD.
Definitely was. Definitely
Shout out to the Bucks, though.
Yeah, shout out to Forrest and Bar.
But if y'all go in there, that energy, just know it was different when we was there.
It's different. It's different because the collaboration people, it was like we were all a whole bunch of like energetically sensitive people working together. Like just a whole bunch of misfits from all different walks of life,
Right.
all different ages, all different spaces, just like coming together during the pandemic, like in prime pandemic.
Facts.
Like
people screaming at us, lines
my
around
God.
the corner.
yeah, like who were we gonna see? Like I everybody from seeing like my second grade teacher to my exes to like person I spoke to one time. Like I'm like, oh my God, like just in my head. Like thank God we had the face mask on. Yo, that face mask helped with social anxiety so much.
Word. And no one really knew I was back from Texas either, so it's like I'm incognito.
And you think it'll help, and then like,
Yeah.
and then there's still some person that'll like, wow, your eyes are so beautiful, and I'm just like. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, sir. What would you like in your coffee?
Facts.
What would you like in your coffee?
Like,
Thank you.
But also throw some money in that tip jar, though.
Word. People were really good tippers there.
They were.
People were really good tippers.
They
just
were.
found one of my tip bags. I found it in my glove, my trunk.
Oh, them tip bags.
It was like a good one, too. It was like a $50 tip bag.
Yo.
I was like, okay,
Yo.
we like this.
We had
finding it, too.
I feel like
Yeah,
that people respected the vibe. Like people like felt so comfortable. It was such a good experience.
It was really great. For all of those that aren't familiar with what we're specifically talking about Starbucks and working there and being baristas and having that. So yeah, because we're just like the Bucks, Forrest and Bar. Like people like someone's in Germany, like what are they talking about? You know what I mean? What does that mean? So that's what. Just to clarify that. But is there anything else you want to get into?
Not at this very moment. I'm proud of myself for just showing up and whatever had to be said was said.
I was just gonna ask you, what do you want to tell yourself the next time you hear? Next time you go to listen to it?
Let me reflect for a moment. Giving myself that credit. Like, I want to look back on this and not judge and not be like, oh, well, I did that. That was weird. This, then, like, just be happy that I showed up and showed out for myself. Big thing for me. Never did anything like this before. Very shy. Not even on the social media. You can't find me if you wanted to. So, yeah, I'm proud of myself, yeah. Thank you for opening the space, you know?
Of course. Proud of you, too.
Long time coming, but I made it.
You made it. You definitely did. And, something with shyness is like, I want to ask you, what do you think shyness is?
I don't know. I feel like it's like an anxiety thing. Ever since I was a kid, and also just not being heard as a child, not being able to express myself, not feeling validated with my feelings, emotions. So that just made me be like, well, I shouldn't talk then. What's the point of talking if no one's going to really listen? Yeah. But it's all about finding the right people, right? And as I'm growing and I'm realizing that I'm finding who I'm meant to find, and my voice is being heard. They're hearing my voice, and I'm also hearing their voice, and it's an exchange that, I guess that's what I think it is for me personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree. I feel like shyness is a blanket term for a lot of different things, just like laziness is a blanket term for a lot of different things. Like, and they both have like, oh, you could just change that easily. You could just get up and do something. Right. Or you could just go up and like speak on this podcast. But literally, people do not know how like earth shattering like anxiety that comes with these things, and like, you know, how it feels impossible inside at times, like so fearful of how you're going to be perceived. Our brains thinking about every single thing that could go wrong and counting ourselves out, you know. So thank you for choosing to get comfortable with that uncomfortability and coming up here and, you know, giving the space for your shyness, because it's like you just walk with her. You know? Make sure that your inner little you knows that she's safe to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And she deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
She deserves to be heard.
Yeah, no, I feel definitely a lot lighter. Because last night we unfolded a lot and I woke up feeling heavy. Like I still wasn't done. And now I feel like, all right, yeah. I feel better.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much. Would you like to read this?
All right.
I feel like I just put you on the spot, like, you know, when you're a kid
because last night you put me on the spot
like,
too, and I read it and it hit. So I'm like, I'm curious, like, what's today gonna be?
What's today gonna be like?
All right, let's get into it.
Right, today's the 18th, correct?
Yeah, because I'm seeing the one I read yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, here we go. People who suffer a trauma must reinvent their lives. Facts. Thank you, Catherine Kramer. Thank you, doctor.
Literally, this book does this every time. Every time.
Slabs. If you've lost your job, experienced a serious illness, been through a divorce, ended a relationship, or are in the midst of some other major life change, such as a move or retirement, then you know how stressful such times can be. Some people approach traumatic life events with the attitude of a passive, helpless victim. Nothing ever works out for me. Others become angry, resentful, or full of blame or threatening thoughts. I'll show my boss he can't lay me off. I'll take him to court. Still others become negative, depressed, or apathetic about life, adopting attitudes such as I don't care anymore, nothing I do matters. But there's a much better way to deal with traumatic life events. Rather than dwell on how devastating or painful the event can be, you could look at ways the experience is helpful to your life. For instance, an illness can encourage you to take better care of yourself. A divorce can give you the opportunity to focus on your own needs. A layoff can help you get out of a rut and pursue another career. Traumatic life events can be beneficial when you can see them as opportunities to reinvent the way you live your life. Wow. Sometimes the events in my life can be devastating, but I could look at each event as an opportunity to learn, grow, and change as I develop a more positive attitude.
That's the affirmation at the bottom. That's wild. Perspective.
Change.
All of the things that I themed between tonight, last night, and today.
Facts.
Thank you for reading that.
Facts. Change is good. Sometimes change is good.
Most of the time change is needed.
Yeah,
most of the time it's just straight up needed. So but before we end this podcast today, I'm going to pull a card from the Sacred Self-Care deck. And for anybody who is open to receive and who is listening, whatever space and time you're in, you know, just taking a moment to close your eyes and putting that energy out there from your heart. Like, what kind of self-care practice do I need to help me adapt with change right now in my life, in our lives? '26, get a health checkup. So check in with your health. It doesn't necessarily have to be like Western doctor, but maybe it does. Maybe get a blood test, you know, maybe get something checked if you have a homeopatist or whatever the case is, but check in with your health. And
That's crazy. We touched on that a little last night. How I'm feeling.
they're both hot. Make an altar and clean your space. So check in with your health and how you're physically feeling and what it is that you need. Maybe you need to add some minerals to your life, or, you know, change up your diet in whatever way. Clean your space. I'm not sure if you can see it focused on there, but just trust me on that. It says clean your space. It's girl clean the window. And that's number 9. So 26, health checkup, 9, clean your space, and 16, make an altar. So making an altar is like having a 3-dimensional version of a vision board, essentially. When we have an altar, it's like a place we can go pray at in our house, you know, to kind of communicate with our ancestors, with ourself, with our spirit. You know, it's kind of real simple. You could put just like a glass of water, you know, that you change weekly, and like maybe like a rock, something to symbolize earth, you know, maybe some incense, symbolize air, like if you have a feather or something, and then, you know, a candle to symbolize that fire, and then whatever else resonates and feels good for you. That's like a good little base to start with. You know, you might want to bring some fresh flowers in, and, you know, whatever colors really resonate with you. Like, you know, you could have a white altar, you know, that's usually what a lot of people start off with, kind of white, because you're expelling any energy. And like, you know, black, the color black absorbs the sun, absorbs heat, absorbs energy, and then white expels. That's why we wear light colors in the sun. So, you know, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But right now, what's going to help us navigate change is maintaining our health, cleaning our space, and making and creating an altar, a place that we can kind of go to within our own houses or within our own space. So thank you so much for tuning in with us. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And see you next Wednesday, everybody. Bye.
Bye.